Welcome back to the Move Better Project. We're coming to you live on tape from a generic chain hotel in Regina, Saskatchewan. This is episode 3 of the road trip project, just recording my workouts that I do on the road. Hopefully maybe you can use this as inspiration or just food for thought for when you're traveling, what to do. I'm going to start off just doing a little bit of rolling out because I'm a little stiff. I wanted to do it last night, didn't have time. I'm just going to start lower thoracic spine. Hey, boo. What are you doing? Hello. Hello. Ziggy's had his walk, his breakfast. He's chilling. But lower thoracic spine, I want to keep my chin tucked, keep my abs on. Just extend the upper back. I'll show you from the other angle. Just no movement below from here down, no movement from the neck, just all of the movements occurring kind of in the thoracic spine, rib cage. This gets really stiff, as you can imagine. When you're driving, spending all that time kind of hunched over the steering wheel, even as much as I try to fight the steering wheel hunch, it still pulls you forward. I like to watch out for the little guy's paws. Watch out, boo-boo. As I get higher, try to incorporate this elbows out, sort of automatically protracts and retracts the scapula. Scapular retraction equals automatic thoracic extension. So, and then you can kind of, we're doing some contract, relax, opening up the interscapular muscles as well. Okay. Just a couple stiffer spots where I'm gonna just do some overhead work to repetitively get into a little thoracic extension on those spots. Hey, boo. Ziggy's out of here. He doesn't want any more to do with this. Okay. I was feeling a little stiff this morning just walking around, taking Ziggy for a walk, so just cleaning this up a little bit. This can actually have a surprising effect on flexion throughout your entire body. So even though I'm going to do a core workout today, it can still help just reduce all around posterior chain stiffness, because obviously this is the most beat up part of that whole chain. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say posterior chain, I mean the bottom of the foot, which has connections to the calf, and the back of the shin, which has connections to the hamstring, and the back of the thigh, which has connections into all the glutes, and deeper hip muscles and posterior hip, which has connections to lumbar extensors, the lower back muscles, connections to sort of the pulling muscles of latissimus and scapular retractors and all that stuff, which has connections to neck extensors. So that whole chain, posterior chain, has to have good movement throughout. Stiffness anywhere can affect movement elsewhere. I try not to get too into the weeds on that stuff in terms of like, oh, I'm going to treat your foot for neck pain. But there is, I think, a lot of truth to that interconnectedness of the body. There's a book called Anatomy Trains for any physical therapists who are watching this, or people interested in understanding it's all about the connective tissue lines that go through the body. Very interesting stuff. Okay. I'm just doing this really simple back and forth rolling. Just finding stiff spots. For me, midfoot tends to get really stiff. Just kind of working on the tarso-metatarsal joint line in that area. of course, that first ray, just all the way from the midfoot area forward towards the big toe, just gets really, really stiff. I'm gonna start basically my core warm up now. Just gonna go on my back. All right, supine cross crawl, my favorite little warm up here. I'm laying on my back. I've got my lower back pressed into the ground. So I'm, doing a posterior pelvic tilt. My abs are engaged. Glutes are a little bit engaged. Quads on. Everything's sort of active in this really nice clean extension. I got my chin tucked. And then I'm just gonna, with my breath on the exhale, opposite elbow and knee together. This kind of cross pattern, I'm a big fan of working both in flexion and extension, but there's a lot of connections from, muscle and soft tissue, connective tissue that go in these directions, both on the front and the back of the body. So it's good to engage those patterns when we're moving, practicing moving, which is what working out really should be. A movement practice. I'm just doing this till I get tired. One thing when I work out is I really don't count reps that often because I'm just looking for internal feedback. I'm looking for my body to tell me that's enough. Okay, that's good. And then just worked hip flexors a bunch. Might as well stretch them out. My hip flexors, obviously, are going to get really tight being in the car all day on a road trip. But I can get a little blood flow in there first. Supine cross crawl, earlier workout I did standing hip flexor raise. But I can get those muscles to engage and then stretch them out. Once they've got blood flow, got warmth, they're feeling better, then just put the two ends further apart, make it get used to that position. Of course, I'm engaging the antagonist muscle, which is gluteus maximus back here. Oh boy, Ziggy just crawled up in the corner, being so sweet and patient. All right, other side. Just show you from the side. Glute is on, tailbone tucked. If you want, and again, I always really focus on the posterior pelvic tilt here, and then you're only flexing the front knee, extending the back hip as much as you need to feel the stretch. If you want on this one, elevating the arm overhead just challenges you to extend up here while staying flexed down here, which can add to the stretch. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to do a little bird dog, basically contralateral extension. We just did some contralateral flexion, stretched out the hip flexor, which is going to make this next move really a lot easier. So all fours here, my toes are just tucked under back there. If you can't see, my big toes are the things that are on the ground. I'm going to actively protract my shoulder blades while keeping my shoulders down away from my ears, not out here, but like that. I'm going to engage my abs, tuck my tailbone, squeeze the glutes a little bit. Breathe in, extend. Breathe out, come back. We want, when you're doing this, no movement or as little movement as possible from the lower back. And I have to keep my chin tucked and head neutral. Otherwise, I'd be looking up, talking to you face to face. And I can just reach out, try to stay extended, but no lower back extension. So I'm working really hard in here. And with the arm, we're going out at like a 30-degree angle away from the ear, which really helps engage lower trap which is going to help with upper body posture, that thoracic extension and shoulder position that I was working on with the foam roller earlier. Again, I'm just going until I'm tired. This is a really great warm up for the lower back muscles by doing this cross pattern, just like the prone X lift. This is a progression from that. I'm engaging those multifidi muscles, resisting rotation, resisting extension. Oh, just a great warm up. I'm feeling pretty warm. I did my flexion, I did my extension. I'm just gonna get right into it now. So we're gonna start with a bent hollow body hold. I'm just gonna do 4 exercises in a circuit with an appropriate stretch in between. So, knees are bent, chin is tucked, legs are together, hands are at my sides, and then pull my shoulder blades down, tuck my chin even more, come up, lift. Lower back is the only thing touching the ground. True hollow position means posterior pelvic tilt, means slight thoracic flexion, a little bit of lumbar flexion. We're just maintaining this position against resistance. And bent hollow body hold is kind of level 1 for this position. I mean, you can even regress it further and be more tucked. You know, that's just going to be easier, which is totally fine way to do this. You can hold on to your knees if the regular one is too hard. I realize I'm covering up my face. But this position is where I like to spend longer sets working. It's just easy enough that I can really hold a perfect position, but it's still hard enough that I will get tired after, 30 seconds or so. Okay. And then right away, I just want to kind of stretch the muscle I worked gently. So cat-cow, opening up my rectus abdominis by pulling my rib cage and pelvis further away, anterior pelvic tilt, extension in the thoracic spine, big breath into the belly, breathe out, shoulder blades protract, posterior pelvic tilt, bottom of the ribs coming up, belly button pulled all the way into the spine. Breathing in, getting that good clean extension. Chin stays tucked, but shoulder blades are working down the back. Protraction, everything as flexed as it can be. 1 or 2 more, based on how you feel. Okay, there we go. Good stuff. Gonna go right into a side plank. One foot is in front of the other. Okay, I want hip extension on the bottom leg, and I want a good clean line. So nose, belly button, pubic symphysis, feet are all in a straight line. I'm just working on maintaining that at first. I'll do side plank twists for subsequent sets, but this is plenty hard for me on the first round. Really, just when you're doing an isometric hold, way to think about it is just constantly you're trying to improve your position to resist gravity pulling you out of it. So my right shoulder blade is pressing out to the side while kind of retracting, really actively stabilizing the shoulder. My oblique is of course working really hard. My gluteus medius on my right side is working hard, pushing into the ground. Just resisting coming down. Whew, plenty. Okay, other side. Same thing again. Trying to continuously, can I get my hip even more extended? Can I make sure I'm actively abducting, pushing down with my back leg, especially abduction and extension, my obliques automatically working hard, shoulder blade kind of doing active retraction, pulling my shoulder blade back to get my shoulder into this horizontal abduction, which is this movement that the bottom one has to be. You can imagine that's kind of like a modified rowing movement. We do a lot of rows. Move Better project, of course, in tight, because that's a little easier on the shoulder, more fundamental, but that abduction row is very useful as well. just until you really don't want to do it anymore. Okay. Then I'm going right into stretching. I'll flip around. My first side, sort of quadruped, external rotation, piriformis stretch position on the right, pushing my hip back into the corner. So I'm capturing gluteus medius more than piriformis here, really focusing on lateral hip. And so this is my right hip is in stretch, left elbow down, right hand reaching out across allows me to get my lat and my obliques and gluteus medius all on this side. So really open up the whole lateral seam, which obviously the plank does a great job of working. One more breath. Okay, same thing on the side. Boom. Much not, if I were doing a full piriformis stretch, I'd be in more external rotation. Glute med, I just want a little bit of it. As well as this hip adduction means pushing my hip out to the side, femur's functionally coming across my body. And then opposite elbows down, and I'm reaching across. And you want to make sure you feel it through that whole line. If you have one tight muscle in the chain, you're going to feel it most, or one muscle that's tighter than the other. So for me, my gluteus medius on this side is pretty tight. I have to really work to get into, lat, serratus, internal and external oblique all in this lateral seam here. Okay, good. All right, gonna do a little flexion here, tuck ups. Arms up overhead. Don't have to go all the way overhead, that's okay. And then feet are together. I'm just gonna do global flexion, controlling both directions. Breathing out on the way up, inhaling on the way down. And again, I'm just going until I get tired. All right, couple more. Okay. All right, just had to do it to him. Couch stretch. Getting quads and hip flexors both at the same time. Really trying to focus on hip extension plus knee flexion while maintaining neutral or slightly flexed lumbar spine. This just feels super tight. My left side's always tighter than my right, plus I've been driving, so just really focusing on lots of stretching in this workout. I'm just doing a little contract, relax, breathe in, kick, breathe out, let it extend. Normally when I'm in a mid-workout, I would just do like 30 seconds max on this side, but it just feels so stiff. I gotta respect my body. If it's asking to be stretched, stretch it, Okay. Okay. Abs are working, bracing, trying not to let the distance between the rib cage and the front of the pelvis increase, but shoulder blades are tracting, hips are extending, and we're letting a natural braced extension happen. I'm not doing a broken extension. I'm going to do a clean braced extension. So here we go. Just resetting my abs in the front of my body there. So it's easy to break the position, but I want to focus on really clean extension. Okay. Pigeon, a natural follow-up for any kind of extension work because stretching out the glute. See what we're doing on time. All right, I think I maybe have time for one more round. Quickly through everything. Okay. Obviously, I spend a lot of time stretching in my workouts, but to me, it's just a set amount of time that you're going to spend working on your body. Most people need to do more stretching. I'm one of them. So using your workout time to stretch in between active movements is just a win-win. You feel better after the workout's over. You are improving your strength and your flexibility at the same time. It's just, I don't know why more people don't do it, to be honest. Like you see people when I was a student at UIC, PT school, people in the gym who were like PT students who just stand around in between sets, hands on the hips. It's like, just use the time, stretch. You need it. Okay. We're back through everything. Hard mode. So here we go. Just legs are squeezing together, knees slightly bent, really actively reaching forward with my hands, trying to keep my chin tucked as much as possible, but actively reaching forward with my hands, actively tilting the pelvis backward. Trying to stay as crunched in here as you can get. Shoulder blades are down, reaching towards your toes. Should be able to smile while you work out. Whew. I used to be, when I did CrossFit, big suffering face guy. Try to not take it quite so seriously anymore. All these pictures of me working out with just like these, agony on my face from exertion and, physical pain from working out. Looking back on that, the intensity of CrossFit is amazing. Really did incredible things for me, but oh man, too much for too long. Look at me now, telling you to do cat-cow in a hotel room. Okay, just getting in my good solid side plank. Elbow touches the fist, comes back up. Try to keep your bottom hip pointed forward. It's going to want to rotate like that, but you want to resist. Make the rotation happen from the trunk, which is really going to challenge your obliques, which is what this is about. Had the breathing backwards there. Breathe in. As always, doing these till I'm tired. can't talk as much when getting around two because I'm working hard. Although my hips started to fall back a little bit there. Okay. Woo. Feels good. All right. Yeah, right side first. Okay. Okay. All right. Tuck ups again. Might do a couple V-ups in here if I'm feeling spry. V-ups challenge quads a little more to keep the knee extended. Tuck ups, of course, everything's bent. We'll see. Okay. And then we just got the arch left, and then we're done. Just grinding out a little more knee flexion. You don't want this to hurt or anything, but it's okay. On the second round of a stretch, if you're comfortable with it, you know your limits, to push into end range a little bit. You know, these muscles are really warm, pretty loose already, so you should be able to explore a little bit. So much tighter on my left side. Hip flexors. I mean, I've been working on it for years and it's still that way. I grew up playing baseball, you know, golf, tennis, all these swinging sports. When you swing, you know, as a right-handed person, you extend your right hip and you flex your left. And, you know, over time, it just changes the structure of your body. Muscle length, one of those things. Not often, I mean, bones, but, you know, Wolff's Law will take effect over time, and you can have different bone densities side to side. Whew. Oh. So tight on the side. Whew. I'm always making little corrections when I'm doing these exercises. You know, always having to tuck my chin a little more, retract my shoulders a little more, extend my hips a little more, tighten my abs a little more. These positions are hard. You really have to focus to maintain them. Okay. Pigeon, and then we're done. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You know, maybe you can put this on. You don't even need any stuff. You don't need the foam roller or the cross ball to do this. You can just, you know, lay a couple towels on the floor. But a no equipment, really great workout for core strength and hip flexibility. you know, I'm gonna feel great after this as I sit down to put in an 8-hour shift on our way to Banff National Park. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and we'll see you next time.